So the history of humankind, if you look at our history, from silk to spices to beavers to coal to energy, it's all been about supply, right? We fight wars over gold and silver. It's not a pretty history, but it is our path through time. Do you want a job? Energy is not going to go. The demands for energy are never going to go away. And it's changing the face of the world. Why do you think we have wars in the Middle East? Yeah, not pretty. Not pretty, but that's where we are. And so we look out from wind, from nuclear power, all to oil shell, and here a fuel cell. Fuel cell created with hydrogen. It's an emerging, growing field. And whether you're an investor or an inventor, a legislator or a teacher, or simply want to write poetry, it's all out there. And I got a couple of remarkable books. The End of Oil, all right? The End of Oil, on the edge of the perilous new world. We will. I mean, these oil and gas and coal are finite resources. We call it non-renewable. Once they're gone, okay? And you will see this in your lifetime. In contrast, here's a different book. It's all tattered because I read it intentionally on a treadmill day after day. And it's called The Bottomless Well. All right? The twilight of fuel, the virtue of waste, and why we will never run out of energy. All right? So that's interesting. Now, we will run out of oil, but energy, how can we do it? Maybe it's uranium. Maybe it's going to be hydrogen. Maybe it's wind. Maybe it's solar. All right, so it's really interesting, and I invest quite a bit of time on this, studying it. And so here we go. It's the future of energy. So we look at some nice windmills there, and I'll try to slow it down just a little bit. It is the one whole set we call non-renewable. The fossil fuels, which are coal, oil, natural gas, they're fossils because they're past life. And it took hundreds of millions of years to accumulate them. Life has been around on Earth almost as long as Earth has been around. But life in that time mostly was in very small quantities, and only in the oceans, and mostly one cell. But finally life exploded in the last 500 million years. We've been here 4.5 billion years. Last 500 million, it finally exploded, the Cambrian explosion, still in the ocean. But it exploded, and suddenly we got abundant life. And it kept going up. And suddenly the oceans began accumulating all the dead parts. All right? And then finally life on land. And life came out on land. And trees, and swamps, flowers, and grass. And in northern latitudes, again, living and dying, the plants in swamps would get buried in mud. And because it's cold, it's like a morgue. And you don't decompose. And the hydrocarbons, you're a hydrocarbon. And a little bit of calcium phosphate. Because you're in a morgue, you don't oxidize. Now, if you die out in Kansas, dust in the wind, all right, you'll be oxidized. And you decompose. You become the stuff of worms. But in our latitudes, once life was on land, so it's all fossils. We have already gone through hundreds of millions of years to accumulate all that oil. We've gone already through half of it. How's your checkbook now? All right? Natural gas, almost gone. Almost a halfway point. So then we turn to the renewables. Do you want a job? Where are you going to go? And also nuclear power is non-renewable. Uranium, once you spend it, then it's gone. All right? So that's the non-renewable. Renewables, wind, solar, hydro, electric, biomass, tidal, and fusion. So it's interesting. Right now, we've got a lot of fossil fuels left. I say we're going to run out. We've got a lot left. And the supply pyramid has got a soft bottom. At the top of the pyramid, that's the easy oil, the easy natural gas. And the coal, top of the mountain. That's the supply pyramid. But as you go down, you get into the tougher and tougher. You go deeper oceans, deeper mines, going down inside there. We're going to run out, we're going to run out. But the soft bottom I'm talking about, we getting new technologies. In the United States, which was for the longest time, was importing 60% of its energy, is now only importing 40%. The domestic production started during the second George Bush term, was really ramped up. I'm concerned about it, as I'll talk. And then Obama was starting to shut some of that down, but he did not. And so today we've got a lot more jobs. Interesting. So this is where it's going. Okay, I'm not getting into the politics of it. But right now we've got a lot of fossil fuels, but we know they're finite. We have plenty of time now to shift to a different form of energy, because what do the fossil fuels do to the air? Not just pollute. When you burn. So when you burn, here is a hunk of coal. And if I were a super guy, I could squeeze it and make diamond. Absolutely, it's carbon. Get in here. And so when I burn this, now, if I had a piece of wood here and I could light it, ooh, nice. If I had wood, I could light it, wouldn't I? All right? Well, look at coal. Look at this. All right. Burn. It is so compact with carbon. It's got so much energy in it that I can't easily get it started. I need a big jet flame, and then once it starts burning, it's got so much carbon. All right, I can't stop it. And then it starts burning, and pretty soon I'm asphyxiating all of you. If I took a barbecue grill in here, rolled it in with charcoal, and lit it, what would happen? You'd all die. You're all drinking the same Kool-Aid. We'd all die, right? Because charcoal and coal are so rich in carbon that you asphyxiate the root with carbon dioxide, which, of course, is a greenhouse gas. And it's causing global warming, all right? In contrast, when I burn this fossil fuel, methane's formula is CH4. It's mostly hydrogen, don't you see? It's mostly hydrogen. When you turn on a gas stove, do you vent it? You burn it right in your house, don't you? Yeah. You don't have an exhaust fan for the odors, but you could have all 4 burners and the oven going and right in the house, because it's mostly hydrogen. It produces some carbon dioxide, but not dangerously. So the fossil fuels are really different. All right? But they're all contributing to global warming, air pollution. All right? Plenty of time here. So let's take a look. Where does our energy come from? Well, oil's number 1, coal and that gas. It used to be all about coal. Coal used to be number 1. For the longest time, until almost World War II, coal was number 1. But oil has taken off ever since. Hydroelectric. Oh, we love hydroelectric. Every one of these has a con. Every one of these, there's a flip side that's not so good. We know about dams. What do they do to beaches? Bill Nye, the science guy, said you can't pick a flower without touching a star. Remember I told you that? And he was talking about the far-reaching effects. Things that we do. When you build a dam, you can create clean electricity. Remarkable amounts. What does it do to beaches, Rachel?
It stops the sediment.
Yeah, the sediment. It stops the sediment. So the sediment can't get to the oceans and make beaches. And as the beaches erode, there's no new sediment coming in. And what does it do to the fishes who wish to go up the river? They can't spawn. And they throw their bodies. They jump. Have you ever seen that? They throw their bodies, as by instinct, against the walls of the dams. So there's 2 sides of everything. I'm not saying blow down every dam. Let's get educated about it. All right, and we are. All right, good stuff. So the fossil fuels, are coal, oil, and gas. Other non-renewable is nuclear power. So there they go. Oh, and they're out there. So they're all derived from ancient life. Okay, but before that, when did the fossil fuel era begin? Well, it began at about 1880. Before then, of humans. And in some places, it still is wood. All right? Wood. Burning wood. Fireplace wood. Wood cut down from trees ran locomotives, ran the early engines. The Industrial Revolution really sped up the demand for energy, but we were still in the wood era then, lumber era, and we cut down trees. And the emerging countries at the time, from Europe and Russia and America, they were developing first, they cut down every tree, literally every tree. It's amazing, and as we cut down the trees in the emerging of the Industrial Revolution, we turned to coal. We learned how to burn it. We learned how to burn it, and so that's where it began. Let me show you. Here is a map of trees where they were. The Great Plains didn't have as many. So look at the trees at about 1650. These are models. 1850 and look at 1926. We literally cut down nearly every tree in America. Some years ago, my father-in-law took me outside his home in Paulding, New York, to a deep ravine. He says, look down there. There's still virgin wood, big trees. He says, I was just a child. He was born in 1919. And I saw every tree go away in Paulding, New York, near Hudson Valley. Every tree gone. Happened here too, all right? I've been in campgrounds in the Cascades of Washington, where in the middle of the campgrounds is a huge stump with just the outer shell left where kids can play inside. Huge virgin wood. Cut that, all right? The remnants of some of those old trees are still out there. We cut them down. Today, we argue with China, we argue with Chile, we argue with Vietnam. Don't cut down your trees, as they are now emerging and wanting energy. And wood is cheap. Okay? Don't cut down your trees. We need the trees to breathe in carbon dioxide. We want photosynthesis. But wait a minute. We already did that. You're going to tell me I can't do what you did? Go after yourself. Doubly filmed. And so we turned to coal and the fossil fuel. No oil yet. Didn't know much about it. All right. And the fossil fuel era began. Coal been around for a while. China, early use of it. Greeks, Pueblo Indians in heating and making pottery. But it began to be used in the late 1700s and emerged as an energy greater than wood at 1880. And with that, a lot of early history from Europe again and Russia again and the U.S. again. We were the developing countries, and it was about the haves and the have-nots. The workers that went down in the mines faced death, fires, asphyxiation, coal dust, cancer, and out of that, the labor movement. I told you history is all about supplies. The labor movement, the first labor unions, and there was battles and gunshots and walkouts. Control of the money. Who's got it? Wow. It's all there. So coal. Talk about coal first. Initially, coal comes from plants in cold environments where it is not going to biologically decompose and stay. We need a swamp. And when life became on land, it had to wait till that. 400 million years ago. And about 300 million years ago, Pangea was breaking up and sea level rose because of plate motions were pushing the seas up. And the oceans flooded the lands, creating extensive swamps. And in those swamps, like the Everglades, but those biologically decomposed, it was the more northern swamps, the plants live and die, get buried with dirt, get buried and compressed to coal. All right? So that's what the early, we could go, here it is, Carboniferous. All right? 280 million years old. It looks like wood, but it's coal. It looks like wood. It was wood. All right? All right, so there it is. Oh, we could go and look at the fossils, what was living there. Remarkable. All right? So oceans flooded the continents during the Carboniferous era. The Carboniferous is named for all the carbon. So most of the coal that's brought into Boston comes out of Appalachians, where most of it is Pennsylvania or Mississippi, which together we call the Carboniferous era. All right? There it is. Wow, 356 million years. So it starts off as plants, It gets buried. The first stuff is called peat. You might have heard of peat bogs. Peat bogs are all over Ireland, where it's a fairly cold climate. They dig up peat in Ireland and burn it. It's like compressed grass. But when it gets buried by sediment, it gets compressed. That's why there's so much carbon in it. It gets compressed. It gets compressed. First goes to lignite, which is a brown coal, and then bituminous coal, that's this one, all right, bituminous, and even more compressed, shiny black anthracite coal, all right? So this has got more oxygen in it. This is full of carbon, all right? So that's how you make that, all right? Here we go. So who's got it? So Boston Energy comes from all of Appalachia, all right? A good bit in the Midwest, Illinois, and the Great Western Coal in Montana, all the way down in Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico even, there and all there. So that's where the coal is. How do we stand worldwide? Well, production today, production of coal, Wyoming is way out in front. I mean, you can go to college for free in Wyoming. I think that's still true. They've got so much energy. Oil, gas, and coal. Holy cow. Let's go to Laramie. West Virginia is next. Kentucky, so that's currently production. Who's got it in the ground and hasn't dug it out yet? Well, Montana. All right. Another place, Wyoming, sitting on a gold mine. Hey, Illinois, there you are at 14%. And this is a model. This is production, billion tons a year. Here we are at the year 2012. The peak is a long ways off. All right, so that's one model. Eventually, you go through half of it, and then it starts declining. So you get a bell-shaped curve. All right, but wow, I haven't passed the year 2400. Should we choose to? Coal is foul. This is what it looks like. Here's a layer of coal. All right, anthracite, bituminous coal. Look at the amount of carbon relative to hydrogen. So it's 86 to 98% carbon. That's why if I light this in the room, we're all going to die. Why is he yelling at me? We're all going to die. So much carbon. Therefore, a lot of carbon dioxide is produced per amount of heat you get out of it. Okay? Crazy. So we mine it. We used to go down underground and dig tunnels following veins. That's where the claps would go. It's very expensive to dig and very labor intensive. But today we've turned more and more just to cutting down the mountains. Mountaintop mining. Why should we go down to the ground? Let's just take the whole top off. And that's what they're doing. Obama had promised to stop that mountaintop mining. But he backed off. Okay? So that's the politics side of it. All right? And they're still doing it. Watch this.
We went down to West Virginia to take a look at coal mining because instead of going underground like they used to for decades and generations, they have a whole new way of doing it that blew our minds.
We're on our way up to Larry Gibson's. He lives on this mountain, and you'll see his property just has an incredible view of what's going on around here. By the way, us being up here isn't exactly what we're thrilled about. These companies don't want people to know this is going on.
Things you can find on
the
YouTube.
locals are
This is really made. This is real. You're thinking about what to do for your PowerPoint, you can instead do a movie.
Shoot their
This
mouths
is
off.
really smart.
They're shooting themselves in the foot. Holy shit!
Like a word.
This is the new way that we mine for coal. I could easily tell you we're in Afghanistan in the mountains and we're looking for Osama bin Laden, and you'd believe me. This is the second most biodiverse area in the world. And unfortunately, we need what's under these mountains, and we'll do anything to get it.
Here they are.
Still, coal companies like to do mountaintop removal because they can get more coal quicker and cheaper with less people. The bad part of that is the environmental impact that it has on the streams and the environment.
Look at the
literally
mountainside.
destroy the mountaintop.
Tearing down the
And the
forest.
valleys below were deep mines.
The deer are gone. The turkeys are gone.
When the old timers mined
Now that's what a
coal,
mine would
it
look
was
like.
hard work. But now they need coal faster than men can mine it. So they're taking the tops off the mountain to get it faster. When George Bush
Wow.
first
Mountains
took
gone.
office, he said, mine the coal, get the oil, get the gas, the country needs it. So he just opened the doors, it's just Pandora's box.
Coal is also being sold to North Americans as this beacon for self-sufficiency in terms of
Here they
fossil
go.
fuel that we can depend on. But this is how we get it. And then you heat your homes with it.
We do.
But those are things that happens under the public's eye, under their noses. They just don't realize what is at stake here. And the coal companies get by.
We are.
I guess every single mountain out there is
This is
important
kind
to
of fun.
somebody to be retained in its original contour. But mining is what we do here in West Virginia, and it's something we do extremely well.
Yeah, and there's no reason, absolutely, I don't think there's any reason there shouldn't be a price.
By the contrast,
But to be frank, I was just horrified at this form of mining where you just kind of take away mountaintops. And I'm wondering what that impact is, or what you consider the impact to be.
listen to this.
There's no pretty way to mine coal. Nature has a remarkable way of healing itself over time.
So those are the mountains of West Virginia, which so many people talk about, and then when you see it from the air, it is another level of understanding civilization around here.
To the extent that a mountain is removed, a little bit of a misnomer there. We're removing mountain tops, and we're not removing the entire mountain.
So how far down would you go, for example?
Well, sometimes it's the ground level, but it's sometimes it.
God,
To talk to the coal
roll me over.
representatives, I have to say that if you're interested in the world looking like Mars or Pluto, this is a great place to start.
What did he say? Oh, man.
Hi, I'm visiting you from Zebulon 5, a new planet that Earth is conquering. We're currently blasting away to make room
Go
for
make me one of these, and we'll put it on
Earth
YouTube.
inhabitants. Luckily, we can breathe
Share it
here.
with the
and
world.
it looks just enough like West Virginia to make you feel at home.
All right, so there you have it. So then, to oil and natural gas. They're made differently. They're not on land. Some of it might be plants, but most of it is animal. Most of it one cell, phytoplankton, and other species living in the oceans. Everything living in the oceans and dying. Living in the ocean. Sure, some fish, some whales. Most of it, though, is one cell. Bacteria and plankton and diatoms. Living and living and dying, living and dying. The deep ocean water, I'm sorry, I walked right in front. The deep ocean water, you go down deep in the ocean, is it cold down there? Oh yeah. You jump down to the bottom of the ocean, it's cold, way far from sunlight, no sunlight ever penetrates. I'm dying. And you sink down, and there you go. And then you get buried with sediment, and the coffin is set. And you get buried by your brothers and sisters and your friends, and some of them are heavier, and you get buried. You're getting smelly down here, and you start decomposing in your hydrocarbon. And you start decomposing, but it's cold. So you don't decompose. All right, you just sort of gradually transform. Some of you are fairly gassy. I heard something about dyes. And greasy, and so you get greasy and smelly. All right, you get buried in sediment, the coffin is set. And then you're buried under sediment, and more sediment, and more sediment. But you're light. Your body parts are lightweight because you're sitting down on heavy rock all over you. And I call it the rise of the living dead. You're down in the source region. That's where you're buried. Those are the source rocks. And they begin to rise. They begin to rise. You slip out. You slip out. The gas moves faster. Your gas. Mostly methane, your gas, and then the oil follows it. Following through cracks, through holes, through the permeability of the rocks, rising, and if you can, you go all the way to the surface. And make an oil lake, an oil seep. Yeah, well, people just